Today, you're going to hear an amazing story about a woman who died and came back with an incredible message. She met Jesus and saw things in heaven that completely changed how she understood life and death. What did she see? What did he tell her? This story will leave you thinking. Please watch this video until the end to hear everything. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel, give it a like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss more inspiring stories like this one. Something truly special is waiting for you.
Hi, my name is Margaret Hale. I'm a psychiatrist, and I'm 52 years old. My work is to help people deal with their pain, fears, and struggles. Sometimes, I hear stories that stay in my mind for a long time. But today, I want to tell you my own story, a story that changed my life completely. Please stay with me until the very end. I know it might sound strange, I died and then came back. But I promise, everything I'm about to tell you is true. This isn't just a memory, it's something you need to hear. That day, I was completely exhausted. Honestly, I had no energy left. I saw 8 patients, and each one brought their pain, questions, and hopes that I could help them. But one patient, a middle-aged man, stayed in my mind more than the others. He sat across from me, hunched over, with sadness in his eyes. He told me how he lost his wife. His voice shook, and every word seemed to hurt him. Finally, he asked me, "Dr. Hale, do you think she's still out there somewhere? Or is death the end?" That question hit me hard. As a psychiatrist, I needed to give a professional answer, something based on science. But inside, I froze. How could I know for sure? Could I really say that death isn't the end? I looked at him, trying to stay calm, and said something neutral, not too hopeful, but not hopeless either. Still, inside, I was shaken. That question stayed with me all day. It kept replaying in my mind. What if he's right? I thought. What if death really is the end? Then what's the point of life, of love, of all the struggles we go through? These thoughts wouldn't leave me. I tried to focus on other things, but every quiet moment brought me back to that question. And I had no idea that by the end of the evening, I would find the answer, not from books or studies, but from what I was about to experience myself. Later that evening, I finally sat down to relax. I was on the couch with a cup of tea, hoping for a quiet moment of peace. But instead, a sudden, sharp pain hit my chest. It felt like a lightning bolt, so strong that, for a moment, I lost all sense of what was happening. Panic swept over me. I tried to stand up to call for help, but my legs wouldn't move. They felt like jelly. My arms became heavy, and my breathing turned shallow, as if the air had thickened, making it impossible to breathe. In desperation, I whispered, "God, help me." My words disappeared into the silence, and everything around me froze. Darkness came. But it wasn't scary or cold, it was quiet, as if the whole world had stopped and was waiting. I remember my mind fading, but instead of fear, I felt calm. It was like all my worries and pain had melted away. At that moment, I knew I had died. But this wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something I could never have imagined. When I woke up, I found myself surrounded by light. But this wasn't like any light on earth. It was alive, warm and comforting, like the hug of someone who loves you deeply. I felt completely safe. There was no fear, no pain, only peace. It felt like coming home after a long, hard journey, where someone is waiting for you with open arms. And then, I saw him. I saw Jesus. I know how that might sound, especially if you're skeptical, like I once was. But it was him. I didn't recognize him by his face, it wasn't like the paintings or movies. It was deeper than that. Every part of me just knew, this was Jesus. His presence was so strong, there was no need for words to explain who he was. His eyes. I can never forget his eyes. They were filled with love, so deep, it made me want to cry. This love didn't ask for anything. It didn't judge or question. It simply was. He looked at me with a smile, one that was kind and full of understanding. He knew me better than I knew myself. Then, he spoke words I will never forget. "Margaret, don't be afraid. You are with me." In that moment, all my fears, doubts, and the weight of my earthly life disappeared. It felt like light was washing over every part of me, filling me with peace and joy that words can't describe. Jesus held out his hand, and we began to walk. I felt his presence filling me with warmth and peace. And then, I saw it, a garden. But this wasn't like any garden on earth. It was so beautiful that it took my breath away. Every tree, every flower seemed alive in a way I can't describe. The colors were unlike anything I had ever seen. There were shades I didn't even know existed. The flowers seemed to sing, not with words, but with a melody that touched my soul. And the trees, they reached toward the sky as if praising God. I could hear it, feel it, and tears started streaming down my face. It was so perfect, so full of life, that I couldn't hold back my emotions. Then Jesus led me further. We came to a city, and I stopped in awe. Its walls were made of gold, but it wasn't the kind of gold we know. It didn't shine coldly or look like wealth. It was warm, glowing with a peace that filled the entire place. The streets looked like glass, so clear and pure, they seemed to radiate light. Jesus turned to me and said, "This is the New Jerusalem. Here, those who kept their faith and stayed true will live forever." His words went straight to my heart. I felt like I was standing in a holy place, a place without pain, fear, or loss. But the most incredible moment came when I saw the house. My house. I knew it was mine the moment I saw it. Everything about it, the shape, the details, even the flowers by the door, was perfect for me. It felt like home, but better than anything I could ever imagine. I couldn't hold back my tears. "Is this for me?" I whispered. Jesus smiled and said, "God knows each of his children. He prepares a place for them with love." Those words, that moment, will stay with me forever. I knew this wasn't just a place. This was a home that had been waiting for me since the beginning of my life. But what moved me the most was the river. The river of life. When we reached its edge, I couldn't move. I was completely overwhelmed by its beauty. The water was so clear that I could see every tiny detail at the bottom. But it wasn't just water, it was alive. It flowed with such grace, it seemed to sing as it moved. The trees along its banks were unlike anything I had ever seen. Their leaves shimmered with a golden light, and their fruit glowed softly, like little lanterns. The light from the fruit wasn't harsh, it was gentle and warm, like a soft embrace. I couldn't take my eyes off it. The whole scene felt like it was breathing with God's love. Everything around me, every sound, every color, was filled with peace, joy, and unity. Jesus looked at me with such kindness, and his words filled my heart. "Margaret, there is no pain here. There is no fear. Everything you see is made for those who love God." I stood there, overwhelmed. The beauty of this place was beyond anything I could imagine. But even more powerful than what I saw was the feeling inside me. It wasn't just peace, it was a deep, unshakable joy that didn't depend on anything earthly. It came straight from God. In that moment, I understood that everything in my life had been leading me to this place. I was soaking in the beauty of this place, filled with joy and peace, when Jesus turned to me with a serious yet loving look. He said words that I wasn't ready to hear. "Your time has not yet come. You must go back. People need to know what is waiting for them. You must tell them what God has prepared for them." His words hit me like a thunderbolt. Go back? To earth? To a world full of pain, fear, and loneliness? I couldn't believe it. Everything inside me wanted to stay. I fell to my knees and cried, "Lord, please let me stay. It's so beautiful here. I don't want to go back." My voice trembled with desperation. I felt like a child being asked to leave the safest, most loving place I'd ever known. But Jesus smiled at me. His smile was full of kindness and understanding. Gently, he said, "You are needed on earth. Go, and I will be with you." Those words pierced my heart. I realized I had a choice, but deep down, I knew what I needed to do. I had to go back, not for myself, but for others. For those who didn't know what was waiting for them. For those who needed to hear about the incredible love and home God has prepared. In that moment, I knew my life no longer belonged to me. It belonged to him. And now, I lived to carry out his will. When I woke up, the doctors were staring at me in disbelief. They couldn't explain what had happened. One of them said, You went through clinical death, but this shouldn't be possible. It's a miracle. But I knew. I knew I had been given a second chance. It wasn't just luck or some medical mystery. It was a gift, a mission to share what I had seen and heard. From that day on, my life completely changed. I no longer see death as the end. I know there is something greater waiting for us, something beautiful and filled with love. Friends, I'm sharing this story not to impress you, but because I want you to know, there is a home waiting for you. A home created with love, care, and an understanding of who you are. All you need to do is open your heart. Believe that God loves you, that He is waiting for you, and that He has prepared a place more wonderful than anything you can imagine. Thank you for listening to my story. Please share your thoughts in the comments. Your voice matters, and I want to hear how this story touched you.